Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch Harlan, and welcome to the Truth Talks podcast. Boy, do I got a guest for you today. This guy is full of energy. I can tell it. Enrique Cruz, how are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing good, Doc. How are you doing?
I'm living the dream, man. We were just off air for just
Too, huh?
we were just off air a second ago. I'm like, man, I'm in the penthouse now. I don't want to go to the big house, but you have a podcast called From the Big House to the Penthouse.
I do, and this is I think with this podcast, I put it on hold here temporarily because we had a lot of things changing here at the shop and my job. I got really busy with some things, and so I put it on hold for a little while. It's going to come back on again. But we're very excited about it. When we started it, we're still excited about it. But like I said, I had to take a little break because my business demanded more time from me that I had to give it. But we're in the works of coming back full force. I had on my podcast, I had some great guests. I even had what's his name from the Mayans, that show, the Mayans. What's his name? Rocco.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had some really interesting guests. So yes, the big, from the big house to the penthouse, man. It's a thing. We in the beginning, I just talked about my problems with substance abuse, from alcohol and drugs, cocaine in particular, and how it all came to manifest in my life, and how it almost destroyed me. How, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And a lot of people like to hear. I mean, uh my point of the podcast was to be able to get through it from one end, and people that come out, guys like myself that come out of the institutions, jails and other institutions, let them know that there's hope, man, that there is hope, that you can have a great business like myself. And I'm not trying to boast, but we run a great business. I've applied the program of Narcotics Anonymous to my business. The 12 steps that I apply in my life, I apply them to my business, and man, my business just blew up. We're doing good. We're doing really good, and so that's kind of like the really, really super short version of my podcast. I've had, and just if I may add, I've had school teachers. I've had some politicians. I've had, people in our leaders in our community that were running for office, that actually won the office. And while they started to get bashed locally by some people, and she came on the show and just was transparent about her life and how she got her life together. So very proud of her, and I'm very proud of what our podcast did for her. I don't know if it did anything to get her. I don't think it did anything to get her elected, but those type of things is what we uncover here and talk about on my podcast.
Tell me how the story unfolds. How did you get here? I know the road was tough.
How did I get here, man? I'll tell you what, Doc. A lot of bumps and bruises, man. It's been I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to lie. Everything is beautiful today. I mean, it is wonderful. And sometimes, man, I'll be honest with you, I'm not grateful. I get up in the morning and I complain about, I complain about this, I complain about that, and I complain about my kids, I complain about my ex-wife, I complain about my current wife, not knowing, brother, that man, everything's actually cherry, man. Everything's amazing compared. Now, look, my sponsor used to say, Rick, we have to wake up every morning and be grateful of where we're at today. And I remember the first time he told me that, and I'll tell you how exactly how I got here. But I remember one time I was when I was released, I went through rehab. I went through rehab, and from rehab I was released to the general public, right? So, and this is where I met my sponsor. We became great friends. He was an older black guy. His name is Eugene Mason. He's passed away, but that guy saved my life, man. 3 years he was my sponsor before he passed away. And he's next month, I'll have 12 years clean. On September 1st is my recovery date, okay, of 2011. But man, within those 3 years, Eugene gave me something that I've used all my life, man. But so Eugene, I remember I had got released, and Eugene and I had become friends. I met him in rehab. He used to come in and grab people from the place and take them to outside meetings. So when I did my term, which was 3 months in that rehab, I came home and I went to live with my mom because I had lost my home. I had put my family, man, I put my family on the street, man. I left my family homeless. I mean, this is something when I think about it, it's something heavy that
Yeah.
hurts me still when I think about it. So I lost my home, but I was living with my mom, and I remember I had gone back to try to reopen my business, my shop. And of course it was shit. I mean, I left it when I left it in turn. I mean, I owed people, I owed money, I owed parts, I owed the bank. It was just, and trying to get all that caught up, man, it was just, I was like, dude, I'm not going to make this. Fuck this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cuss.
No, it's true talks. It's true talks.
All right, man. Well, look, so I was like, man, I'm not gonna make it. So Eugene being in my life, I remember I came home from the shop to my mom's house, and I remember she had me cut the grass. I was like, man, I gotta cut this goddamn grass, man. I said, well, she wanted me to do it, so I did it. And I remember cutting the grass, and I took a little break, and I smelled the fresh cut grass, and it threw me back, man. I remember this clearly because it's a game changer for me. I could smell the clean cut grass, and I remembered that when my kids used to cut the grass at my house, and I used to sit back and drink a beer, and the boys would be cutting the grass, and I was like, you know what? That was like, oh man, these are great memories. And then I said, oh shit, man, I don't have a house anymore. I'm living here with my mom. Dude, I started crying.
Yeah.
I started choking up. I was like, man, I'm a piece of shit. I did this to my family. I did this to myself. I can't believe, you know what I mean? And what Eugene taught me, man, it was like, listen, dude, when you start getting your mentality like that, call me, man, because this is when we use, doc. You know, this is when we use. We're like, you know what? There's no way I can get out here with this desperation, and we're like, the first thing we do is go drink a beer, right? For us as addicts, the second thing is we need a toot, we need to smoke something, we need to snort something, you know. So I did what he taught me, and I picked up that heavy ass phone, man, and I called him. And I didn't say much. I remember him going, because I was just like, hey, what's up, Eugene? No, hey, what's up? He used to call me doctor. Hey, doc, I was the car doctor. And we talked for a couple of minutes, not about anything in particular, and then he says, what's really going on, man? What's really going on? And that's when I started to tell him, dude, I started cutting the grass, and I started remembering my house, and I started crying, man. I started getting choked up, and man, he just let me let it out. And then he started off, man. He started off. He says, hey, look, listen, man, I get it. I get it. He says, here's the thing though, man. Think about where you're at right now, and think where you were. Where were you 6 months ago, Rick? Where were you? Remember at the time the state of Texas told you when to sleep, when to get up, when to eat, when to shit, when to go to sleep, lights out, and all this shit. Right now, you don't have to. Nobody tells you what to do. If you want to go get a hamburger at McDonald's, you go to get you a hamburger. If you want to take a nap, you do whatever you want, man. You're not what you used to be, man. You're making and then my girls had just came back. My wife had taken them to Bronzeville, and they had just came back after I got released. He says, and your daughters are back, man. Dude, he started to paint this picture in my mind. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, there is hope, man. Things are getting better, but sometimes our life, our own mind doesn't allow us to see the fruits that are growing, man, that are growing on that vine. And we need someone to like a sponsor, a support group, someone to tell us, man, what's really going on, man. You know, and when I saw that dude, and he told me all that, I was like, this ain't shit. I'm gonna get my shit together, man. It's already coming together. Thank you, Eugene. And dude, I'm gonna tell you something, man. That's the first time we had been friends already for a while, and he had been my sponsor. But that's when I said, this guy, man, he's what I need in my life. And and from then on, man, I clinged to him, man. Anything, any problem, I had problems with my ex-wife, with my kids, everything and anything, I passed it through him. And god dang, man, he saved my life, man. He saved my life. I owe him. I owe my life. But the reason I'm going to tell you something, man, what got me here is me, you know, the way I am. See, I have a problem. I obsess over things, man. And it wasn't just drugs, man. It was when it was in drugs, it was alcohol, sex. I mean, I'm going to tell you something, man. I go have a burger somewhere, Dr. Mitch, and I want that burger. If I like the way that burger is, just the way they made it, I want it just like that, or else I get fucking pissed. I want
Yeah.
it just like that. You know what I mean? If that
Yeah.
thing was turned over in 2 minutes on one side and 3.5 and 30 seconds on the other and pink and blah, 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 and I don't get it just like that, I'm not happy. Gotta have it just like that. And that goes for it went for everything in my life. Not anymore, man. I'm okay with shit if it's not the way it needs. It doesn't have to be that way anymore to me. But there was a lot of work that I had to do, a lot of work I had to put into it, man.
You know, as I'm sitting here talking to you, there's a kid right now. He's one of my really good friends' son. Got busted on a gun charge, a lot of drugs. Got out, but one of the things that when he was on the inside, he would talk about how you had to be even harder on the inside. And somebody come over to fight you, you got to fight, you got to do this, and it was almost like the inside kept you down. They kept you down all the time. The closer you got to getting out, that somebody would do something to keep you in. And this kid's out now, and he's still in that fringe of still doing the shit that got him there, right? All I can think about is I would love for him to sit right in front of you, knee to knee right now. Oh my God. Your story already, I think, would change him, man. And, his dad's frustrated because he's a good dad, and he's trying to get his kid right, but he can't connect there. What would you say to him?
Mitch, what I would say to him is probably what I would say to my younger self, man. And what would I say to my younger self? Life is precious, man. Life is wonderful. We had one chance, man. And the other thing is, don't give up before the miracle happens, man. We have another slogan, don't give up before the miracle happens, because look, man, this is a miracle. Me not using drugs, man, and not depending on drugs, it's a miracle. I mean, I never thought that I could live a life without drugs. I didn't think I could ever live a life without having a drink. So, I mean, it can be done. It can be done, and you can have a fabulous, great life.
I love that, because I don't think he's giving himself a break. How about your business, though? Did all the passion to drive that business, was that really helpful for you?
What do you mean? Well, in which time?
When you got out and the business was shit and you had to clean it all up and pay everything off and pay everybody off, did that also kind of keep your mindset off of using and all of that?
Doctor, look, Doc, I'll be honest with you. The reason, and I know in our program that they say that we recover for ourselves so we can get better and that we can serve others, being our family, kids, or whatever, wife, whatever you want to choose. But honestly, yes, the reason, what kept me clean was my children, my daughters specifically. I remember when my daughters came to visit me, they were little. They came to visit me in rehab. It was Thanksgiving. My daughter, Ricky, the youngest, when she was walking out the door, because we couldn't go past the door, I remember her looking back at me. Her eyes were bloodshot red and teared up. And son of a bitch, man, I was right there and then, man. I said, man, that's it. That is it. I remember I say this story in NA that when I was sharing early on that about the time when in the middle of my addiction, I had lost all the money, and the last Thanksgiving of 2010, I remember that around that time, their mom worked at the hospital and I took care of the girls. I used to go in the garage and smoke crack. Okay, that's what I was doing, and I got addicted. I started with cocaine and then ended up with crack. I loved it. I fell in love with it. And I was smoking in the garage, and that's where I would spend most of my time. The girls, I was supposed to be watching them. I wasn't watching them. I would put them in front of a TV with some Roman noodle soups, and that's what they would eat. And so their mom one evening comes home from the shift, and she says, "Hey, have the girls eaten?" And I was like, "Yeah, they." And she knew what I would feed them, right? Roman noodle soup. She's like, "Hey, well, let's go to McDonald's." And I remember I was like, I had lost like 100 and something pounds, man. I was like, "Yeah, well, let's go." And so we went, loaded up the girls, and we went to McDonald's. And I remember getting out of the car and walking towards McDonald's. They had a McDonald's inside the Walmart here on 35. I remember having to hold my shorts up because I had lost so much weight. I'm holding, walking into the parking lot. And we go in there, and I'll never forget this, man, that the girls were like, "Hey, what do you want?" He was like, "Yeah, I want a Happy Meal with da 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 da." Well, I remember the girls wanted cheese, right? but the cheese that they wanted would I needed 20 left so I could order another hit when I came back.
Mm.
So it's a little hard for me to talk about it, but it's painful. This is what keeps me clean, man. I'm gonna tell you.
I love it.
Uh, I remember they're like, hey, so I want cheese and blah blah blah. And I was like, I calculated and I looked at the price. I was like, oh shit, you don't need no cheese. You know what I mean? And probably no fries. I don't remember. And they started crying. My girl started crying, and I was like, hey, you don't need no cheese. I remember that the girl that was attending to us, there was a mirror behind there, and I fucking looked at myself, bro. I looked at myself. My face was sucked in. I looked like shit. My hair was fucked up. I said, dude, before I looked at myself, I said, man, oh my God. And I remember the conversation. What happened to me, man? What happened to me? Who did I become? My daughter's sitting, they're crying. They're crying. And I'm looking at myself in the mirror, man, and all this is happening. And I'm like disgusted in myself, man. And I start crying. I start breaking down there. And my wife, she's like, come on, let's go. You know, no, fuck that food. You know, she's like, let's go. Girls, and the girls are like, oh, you know what I mean? You can imagine. They're like, they don't know what's going on. They're just like, I want my hamburger. I want my and my ex-wife, man, they grabs the girls, you know, and we start walking out, man. And I'm like, dude, here's the insanity, man. We get in the car, my girls didn't get shit. We go back and I get back, man, and I order a hit. I order drugs, man. I'm disappointed in myself. I'm crying. And my daughters, I used to close restaurants, man, for my birthday, thousands of dollars. I had, you know, 8 collectible cars. I mean, I had my classic cars. I had Corvettes, I had Porsches. I had, you know, all this value. I smoked it all up. I smoked it all up, man. My lights got cut off. I mean, I never thought that my life would turn like that fast in a blink of an eye, man. The doctor told me too. My wife took me to the doctor to try to get me help, and he told me, if you continue this, you're gonna be broke. And I remember in the back of my mind going, you don't know how much fucking money I make, bro.
Right.
You don't know who you're talking to. I am Ricky fucking Cruz. You don't know the kind of money that I make. And he predicted it, man. So I get home, man, and I order a hit. I order crack and I smoke it. I'm crying, smoking fucking crack, man. I say this story and people get really whenever I share this. It's been a long time since I've shared that story, but when I think I need to pull it out because I hear somebody sharing how fucked up their life is because they're clean. But you know what? And look at me today. I mean, look at me. I every other Friday I'll take a helicopter. I'll take a helicopter into Houston when I want to go home. I mean, you know, hey, look, I'm not here to show off to anybody. I'm just telling you what recovery has done for me, man. Staying the course, letting the miracle happen, man, and accepting it. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be here, man. People that are like me don't make it out. What did I do this different?
Don't quit before the miracle happens.
Yeah. You don't quit before the miracle happens, man. You got to, you know, patience, you know? And that's what a lot of us, man, we die from this, man. We die from it. We don't allow the miracle to happen.
Give me that moment. Give me that moment when it clicked. When she left with the eyes, was that when it clicked? That it was over?
When I came back from recovery, when I came back out of rehab, Doc, when I came back out of rehab, I was gonna and I came back to Pearland and I was in Dickinson. You know, after I got released from Missouri County, I was given to Bay Area Recovery. I spent 3 months there, and I met Eugene there. I left, and my wife at the time, I think she had divorced me while I was incarcerated. She says, "I got divorce papers, man. That sucks."
Hey, it's easy to find you.
Uh,
It's easy to find you in prison.
Yeah. You get a signature there real quick. She came back from Bronzeville, like I was telling with my daughters that we're going to come back, and they did come back. I was released and getting the shop going again. And I said to myself, man, I'm going to gonna get my shit together, man. I'm gonna reopen the shop. I'm gonna, and I started working, doc. I from sun up to sundown, started getting clients again and calling my old clients, and I lost a lot of clientele. And but I was trying. I would work. I remember, man, I worked really hard. A lot of people say, hey, that, about the helicopter bullshit I just told you. A lot of
Yeah.
people say that they probably think that I boast about my shit, and I do, but there's a reason behind it.
Yeah.
Why I do it, why I talk about it, why I show it on Facebook when I do these things. But at the time, so when it clicked, I'm getting to that, it's coming. So I'm gonna get all these things back, right? One of them was my wife, and get my children back under the house, buy another home and everything. Well, I didn't know that while I was incarcerated, while I was, in Missouri County, went through all that, and he probably even way before that, man. My dear friend had slept with my wife. Okay, dear friend of mine, and he's a business owner here in town. I didn't know that had happened, so when her and I thought we were trying to get things together. Well, I didn't realize that she didn't know. I'm gathering. Oh, I've gathered up to now that at the time she didn't know how to tell me it was over, right? Or she was with him or whatever, or at least sleeping with him. But I come to find out, I found her card. It's a long story, and one day I'll tell you too. But one morning that I'm working at the shop, I go to take my laundry, which is down the street at some laundromat at like 5 a.m. I was gonna drop it off early. I see her car, and his house happens to be down the street from the laundromat. Her car was there, and Mitch, I was gonna end their life. I say this today because I know it sounds, I don't know what it sounds like for me to say it, but the rage of seeing it, I was knocking on the door and I wanted them to come out. They never came out. And thank God they didn't come out, man. Thank God, man, because I probably wouldn't, I'd be running from the law, I'd be incarcerated. They never came out. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to go get a gun and knock the door down. And then you could imagine what, right?
Yeah. Right.
Thank God that I didn't. Eugene came, and Robert, my son, called Eugene, my sponsor. He came and got me. He takes me way back to the shop, and Eugene was a big instrument for me to get close, because everything was like, dude, pray about it, man. Pray about it. He said, Rick, let me tell you something, son. I will turn on you. I will turn on you. God won't, man. He says, but the secret is it's not a secret, man, but you got to be right. You got to live righteously, man. For God to bless you, you have to live right. You know what I mean? Don't you remember all the times that you were chasing after these things? You never had enough, right? He would never let you have enough. Now and today I have enough, Mitch. I have enough today. It's making sense. So when it clicked, I didn't do nothing about that. I had a meeting with the counselor that I was going for my daughters, and it was 2 days away. I told Eugene, I said, shit, from after what that happened. I said, Eugene, man, I have a meeting with the counselor for my girls from Brazoria County. He says, Rick, don't go, man. Don't go making a fucking fool, man. Don't go. Because you know what I mean? You're going to screw things up. They're just waiting for you to screw up so you can take the girls completely away from you. I say, Eugene, man. He says, unless you're grown up enough to go, man. And I remember I said, you know what? I think I can handle it. And I went to to where we counseled that. And when we were in the waiting room, I remember I told her about, hey, you were at Tim's house, and she denied it. She denied it. We go in the counselor's office right there and then, man, check this out. Right there and then she goes, he's going to accuse me of sleeping with his friend and all this shit. That's when I say, something snapped. Boom, right there, Mitch. Right there and then is when it snapped. I said, Millie, is her name is Millie? I'm going to tell you something, man. I'm done. It's over. I just want my daughters. I'm going to raise my daughters. I'm accepting that you're no longer mine, man. And I'm not yours. You're not mine. I'm letting you go. She told me, fuck you. She said that to me. I remember she said that to me because the counselor asked her, can he tell you? Because I said, I just want to say one thing. I'm leaving. And I'm going to tell you, Mitch, And she told me, fuck you. I said, yeah, no problem. I got up. The counselor said, here, can you sign this card? And I signed. I said, yeah, sure. She handed it back to me. Boom. From then on, Mitch, is when my life changed. That's when things snapped for me. And it was if it wasn't for I think it was an intervention through God, man. Somehow, because if not, I would have still been in the same thing, man, the same circle, that vicious thing with in that relationship with my wife. I don't talk about her, and I don't talk about our problems that we had, Mitch, because you know what? I have to accept. Today, I accept what I did wrong. I accept, regardless of what she did, man, it's not important to me. It's what I did. And I failed for that year. I failed my family, man, as a leader. I made a decision to take a highly addictive drug. And this is what I tell the guys at my meetings, man. Look, man, I take responsibility today. I know what I did. I knew better. I know better than to snort a line of coke, and especially smoke cocaine, which is more addictive than snorting it. I had made that choice, and those are my results. So that's why if I use today, man, I'm going to consciously make that decision because I'm clean today, and there's a responsibility behind that, man. I have a big responsibility behind it, and I'm not going to do it. You know, so that's when it clicked for me, Mitch. That's when
What an
the first one
amazing.
where it clicked.
That's an amazing, amazing story. God. And then how did this success get from there to flying a helicopter home? Because I still don't have a helicopter.
Well, I don't have one either, but I rent it from time to time. There's a company here that here in Santa Fe, but I just get these wild hairs I get these wild hairs up my ass sometimes, and I go, well, why not? Why not? And I don't know, man. It's just Mitch, I don't know. I don't know what happened, man. I stayed the course, man. I worked hard. I got up, everything that my dad, and like I said, I lost my dad in 2014. I was 2 weeks shy of giving him 3 years sobriety, man. My dad passed away August 3rd, 2014. And that was when I was 2 weeks away from completing 3 years, because, August and then September 1st. And for some odd reason, things that I'm starting to understand today is I was really bitter because my dad died kind of like in the room with me by myself. I was like, why? God, why'd you do this to me? I mean, I saw my dad take his last breath, and that was painful. The thing is, like Eugene told me, he says, I was like, man, why me, man? Why didn't he, my sister, my brother, one of them? And I'll tell you, man, it makes sense today. And it's a little odd for me to hear myself say this, but he says, Rick, look, and this was confirms it when I was burying my dad, or whenever we had his wake, when you have him,
Yeah.
there's coffin, and I remember that I went up and spoke. I don't even remember what I said, but I felt like I needed to say something about my father and the life he gave me, right? And the influence he had in my life. After the thing was done, we were gonna meet family to go eat. I remember I got in the car with my son, my two little girls in the back, and I cracked a joke. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember exactly what the joke was. And I turned over at Robert, my son, and I said, right, Robert, right? He goes, yeah, Dad, yeah. And we stayed quiet for a minute. I'm parking. I'm trying to take off. And he goes, hey, Dad, I'm really proud of you. I'm really happy for you. I was like, oh, yeah, about what, son? He goes, you're taking Grandpa's death very well. You know what I mean? Dude, I felt like the biggest piece of shit, man. I was like, shit, man. Wait a minute. I'm making light of it. It's like why am I happy? I'm not sure. I called Eugene, right? I told him,
Yeah.
dude, I'm a piece of shit, man. I said, I should be. He says, Rick, you've grown, man. You've gotten stronger. That's what your family needs right now. They need you to be strong, man. And that's what you are. He says, you've grown, man. And dude, for a minute, and Eugene always had that way, man, of turning me back, getting me back on that saddle, man, and going, yeah, yeah. And I said, you know what, dude, it makes sense. I still kind of at the time didn't kind of believe him, but as time went by, with the death of my father and being him, he says, Rick, that's why God chose you over your brothers and sisters. You're stronger than them. You can handle it. He got you through all this shit he got you through, man. He knows you can handle it. Somebody had to take it, and he chose you. there's a reason behind it, man. And then, dude, when he said it to me like that, I was like, yeah, man, you know, maybe
Tell
it,
me, tell me when were you into God before all this went down?
no, no. I always respected the word God. I never disrespected, the word, and I respected it I allowed people to do whatever. I thought it was kind of silly. I would go the times when I got out of, when I started going to church that Eugene recommended I went, I see people up there, holding their hands up and doing this number. And I still think it's kind of silly, to be honest with you. But and maybe I'm just jealous that they can do it and I can't. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Thinking but no, I was never until Eugene came into my life, man. And I had no other choice, Mitch. No other choice to believe in
You,
something,
I always get this thing, right? Like every time I hear a story, and I say this a million times in every podcast, my brain just thinks differently. But what if it's not Eugene? Do you think Eugene was the key? He had to be on your pathway.
Every decision has Eugene's influence in it in my life today. I don't have another sponsor, Mitch. I chose not. I mean, I tried to get other sponsors twice. I've been without a sponsor. My sponsor's been dead for what? Let me see, 2015. How many years is that?
Yeah, 8, right?
8 years. Yeah. I've been without a sponsor for 8 years. It's not recommended in the program that you go 3 days without a sponsor, right? I've gone 8 years. Every decision that I make, I run it through Eugene. And I know if people probably go, "You're a weird motherfucker, man," or "You're just fooling yourself. What are you talking about, Rick?" Do the work and get you a sponsor, get you a sponsor that can answer you. But everything, man, just about everything in my life, dude, I ask Eugene and he answers me. I know it's silly. He doesn't answer me, but
No, I love it.
the answer, he's given it to me before. Things as simple as this, man, is like, you know what, man, I gotta allow my mom to be my mom, bro. She was raised in a different era. We can't think the same. There's no way. I couldn't stand. I still can't kind of stand my mom, to be quite honest with you. But I gotta love her where she's at, man, because she's my mother. She gave me life.
Yeah. What gets you high now?
My family. My family.
Boom.
No, no. I'm gonna say this, man, and it's gonna sound bad. Money. Can I say that?
Yeah. It's truth talks.
It is true, man. And sometimes I feel ashamed of it, man.
Why is that?
That's what gets me high. Yes, it's not my family. My family gives me a different feeling. It's just love. Um, and love, patience, and understanding that I'm trying to practice with my family. But what gets me high is money. And I know money allows me to serve. It allows me to serve my family, man. It allows me I don't have to, my kids don't have to have certain grades for them to get scholarships for school. If they want to pick something that they want to do the rest of their life, and it's my daughter wants to be a nail technician, and there's no school that's going to give her a scholarship, but she's got her daddy, right? That has worked his ass off. Okay. I'm starting to believe that maybe God did have a lot to do with my recovery. And I'm so grateful, man. I even forgot the question you asked me a few minutes ago. Oh,
I forgot too because it was so good. When we started Truth Talks, there's a lot of stuff in the media that says leave God out of it. We never have. And if God's in the story, we want it. Going back to this kid I was talking about, I'm like, man, if it takes something sometimes more powerful than just the human will, overwhelmingly, when people find God or find that salvation within themselves or with something bigger than their problem, that's the ticket. That's what typically gets them through whatever it is they're going through.
sometimes the reason I'm a little hesitant to talk about God, Mitch, quite honestly, is because if you're familiar with the NA program, we don't talk about God being, and the reason being is this, is because we allow everybody to recover, whatever religion or that you follow. If you're Buddhist, if you're, I don't know what other guys are out there, right? If you're, what other
Yeah.
religions or beliefs there are, right? We don't want to force it down anybody's throat that wants to recover. All right. So we leave it. We say our higher power. Now, my higher power is God. right? And believe me, there are some people that bash God, that are mad at God, right? And I don't like to hear them. But we have to stay neutral in our program. That's part of our rules. We use the term higher power because it's a neutral thing, right? My higher power, whatever your higher power is, you have the right to recover just like me and come in the rooms. It's going to be safe for everybody. We don't talk about religion. We don't talk about politics. We keep all that stuff out, man. We're just there to recover. You and I are the same. You're a broadcast, and whatever you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a housewife. We're all the same, man. We're all the same. We're there for one common purpose, man, is to recover. And that's it. So, but like I said, man, I mean, when Eugene was I'm going to tell you something, man. When I went back to my shop, Eddie Parisi, a guy that we used to bang, him and I used to bang prostitutes together, right? He's a friend of mine. And one day I may talk to him in my story. He seemed to have found God before me. And I remember when I came back to my shop, he told me, hey man, you're going to go to, because he's a car dealer and I was a car repair or car shop. And he says, hey man, is God your Lord and Savior? And I was like, hell, I don't know, dude. We were in my office. In my office, I had prostitutes there, man. I smoked crack in there. I did all kinds of crazy shit in my office. He said, man, do you want to get saved today, Rick? I was like, no, not really. He's like, and he just was so instant. I was like, yeah, sure, dude. Come on, man. Give me your hands. And he prayed over me. And I remember what all he said, man. But Eddie, he says, okay, man, you've accepted that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, and you accept him in your life. It's like, yeah, hurry up. Yeah. And I say this, man, because it's funny how my life from there, I was like, okay, Eddie, go, man. Let your car be ready in 2 days, man. I'll call you. And we laugh about it today. Pastor Howard Agnew, look him up if you have a chance. He's the pastor of a church here. New Hope organization is a big church. They've got like 6 churches here in this area: Clear Lake, Alvin, and Friendswood, and all kinds of campuses. He's the lead pastor in Alvin. We became good friends, man. In fact, we're supposed to go to the Astros game tonight, but I'm not going to go. We've become great friends, man. And that's where my life is today, man. I mean, and that's my circle today, man. Pastors are my circle, my family, and so on and so forth, man. I still have friends that are out there, but that's where I leave them, Mitch. I leave them out there. I mean, I give them advice if they want it. And we'll talk about God. In fact, one of them, I know that he still drinks. He goes to church. He's trying to go to church. And last night he said he was going and he didn't show up. But I went, and then I called him and said, hey, dude, what happened, man? If somebody can experience something that I experienced, that was a wonderful thing. And it's wonderful things that I'm experiencing today. Now, I'm not no holy roller, man. I still make a lot of mistakes, man. And I still, put my foot in my mouth and stuff. But I recognize it, and I'm working on it, daily.
Again, man, you're just so real, so authentic. Oh my God. These are the stories I crave, because people, storytelling is probably one of the most powerful things in the world today. And, people can give you the 12 steps. They can give you the 5 steps. They can give you, here, journal, do whatever. But when you hear a really authentic story, especially one that ends successfully, and somebody who is no longer scared to just tell the truth, hey, this is me, this is how it is. That's not only freeing for that person, it's freeing for the person looking to be free. And wow, what a great story. And of course, producer Chad's like, man, I got a really good show for us. He goes, I want to get Ricky on here. And I'd watched another podcast that you had done, or a show that you had done. And so again, you never know what you're going to expect or what you're going to see, but oh man, I love your energy, dude. That is unbelievable. Yeah, that's amazing stuff. So how in the area, if somebody, we have people all over the world. We're I think in 120 countries, something like that, with our show. But if somebody needs some work done, how do they get a hold of your shop?
Hey, well, we're Cruising Cars. It's www.cruise, like my last name, and cars with a Z.com. You can reach me there. I have and that's my website. So it's got all our information there, from hours of operation to everything, anything and everything you need to know about us. And if anybody ever has any, I'll tell you, and I'll put it out there, man. If anybody ever wants my personal number, if you're struggling with a substance abuse or you just want somebody to talk to, man, call my cell phone. Text me first. I don't catch a lot of lines, but I put my cell phone out there, man. If you're struggling with something, you're gonna make a bad choice, man, or before you make it, hey, I'm there. I'm available, man. Call me, text me. You know what I mean? If you ever share that with another person that dealing with something similar, hey, I'll give you my opinion on how things work for me, right?
No, you're so real, so authentic. That if it's me going through it, this is who I want to talk to, right? I want the guy that's been through the fire, has the burn marks, and that's what'll actually make me change. I'm gonna share this with my buddy that I was telling you about, and I hope his kid watches it, especially. I think sometimes when you go through that and you're so beat down, you can't see success. You can't even smell it. You don't even think it exists anymore. And from the big house to the penthouse, I love that. You got to get that fired back up. Get it fired back up.
Right on.
Ricky, I love you to death, man.
Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate it, man.
That was amazing, and I'm sure we'll touch base again. If we are down in the Houston area, which every now and then we get down that way, I'm gonna hook you up. We're gonna go. I'll take you to lunch, and we'll do that. I would love to meet you in person.
All right. Look forward to it.
All right, buddy. Thanks again for coming on our show. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.